welcome to the Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm Kyle.
We're the fucking Morning Throners. Alright, welcome back to another episode of your favorite Game of Thrones podcast. We are the Morning Throners. Follow us at MThroners on Twitter.
At MThroners.
And anywhere else. I'm not sure where we are.
YouTube Morning Throners, Spotify Morning Throners, Stitcher Morning Throners, Apple Podcast Morning
Pornhub.
Throners, iHeartRadio Morning Throners.
So we are back talking Sansa 2, and believe it or not, even Amelia, if you're listening, I'm going to give a compliment to Sansa later on in this chapter.
We're going to try and keep the C word to a minimum when talking about children, first off. And yeah, I agree with Jeff. Sansa's not nearly as much of a bitch.
I'm just going to say one compliment.
We're starting off real strong.
At least you didn't call her a cunt.
All right, so I'll start off by reading Amelia's comment, and then we'll just keep that in mind as we go through the podcast. Since you are all dudes, thought I'd let you know that in my opinion, Sansa's extremely realistic 11-year-old girl. I was kind of exactly like her, and most of my friends were similar as well at that age. She cries easily because she's full of hormones and emotional. She is boy crazy for the same reason. Estrogen, lol. And also, getting along with Arya is actually something she wants. Sibling fights can turn you into a bit of a drama queen at that age. Still don't know how George R.R. Martin was able to pull that off so amazingly as a middle-aged man. After reading the first Sansa chapter, I had a whole newfound respect for George as a writer. So even if you don't like her, maybe that at least can give you a bit of appreciation for her character. It's a phase we grow in and out of at 11 years old. Boys aren't the best always either. Also, you can't forget her upbringing and cultural background. I'd be scared too as an 11-year-old girl if the hound grasped my shoulders, and pain is obviously foreshadowing. But yeah, just a suggestion. Thanks for putting this on YouTube.
You are welcome.
No problem.
Sorry for calling her a cunt.
So there's no mention of that in this comment,
time.
but I know we did a lot.
You're sorry that time, just that one time.
Just one at a time.
Just a singular
So
time.
I bet you Jeff's comment actually kind of goes against this, and I bet you it's something that you're going to compliment her for something that most 11-year-old girls wouldn't handle as well as she did.
I'm going to contradict her.
Okay.
I'm going to contradict Amelia.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll start off. Kyle, how's it start?
So it starts by she's in the what do they call it, a litter, on the way to the tourney.
Yep.
With golden curtains. So fine you could see through them.
Yeah, it was an exquisite litter. That was like super fancy.
She with
Small
the girl,
version of the house,
Septa
right?
Mordain,
And who else? Who else you with?
Jane
Poole.
Gene Poole.
Jane.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of pavilions outside the city limits, like outside the walls. Sansa is fired up. This is like everything she's ever dreamed of. She's been in I assume she's never been to a tourney before. It doesn't seem like Winterfell people are that big about tourneys.
No way. In the north, they're like chopping wood to fuel fires and shit.
So she's fired up. She gets fired up later on about the feast too. She says like it's literally everything she's ever dreamed of. But
just like the songs. Yeah,
but as she's sitting here watching all the knights come out, she's thinking like a lot of these knights are from songs that I already have heard about.
And they sexy.
So when she says that, she says some of them are sexy. Jane wants to marry Beric Dondarrion.
Jeez.
On site.
Who is the one that we heard about last chapter.
Which is opposite of a show that I just recently watched on Netflix called Love is Blind. Just a little name drop if you guys are looking for something
Jeff's
to watch.
about to start a Love is Blind podcast. Keep an eye out for that.
It's fucking crazy.
But yeah, so after she said there's a bunch of heroes that she knows from songs. After she says that, she thinks about the Kingsguard who come out. They're all in white except for Jaime,
which is just bullshit.
It's like
you're a fucking Kingsguard.
He's a little bitch.
Grow the fuck up.
All the Lannisters are kind of like that, right? They seem like way too proud,
flashy.
Yeah.
You're
not a Lannister anymore. You're fucking Kingsguard. That should be the better honor.
Yeah, it's like if you graduated from Penn State and you become a cop, you don't get to wear a Penn State hoodie on the job. You know what I mean?
Right. You grew up.
It's pretty bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't always just wear UC stuff all the time.
You're in uniform. So besides the Kingsguard, she also knows about Sir Gregor Clegane, the Mountain Who Rides, Lord Jon Royce, and Sansa says his armor is 1,000 years old. And it's made of bronze and has magic runes that protect him from harm. Interesting factoid about Jon Royce. He's mentioned one other time already.
In the Vale.
No. Well, he's from the Vale, but he's mentioned one other time already.
Did he go out beyond the wall? Was that him? No.
No,
that
was
was
his son.
his son. Yeah.
Right.
That was his
Look
son.
at
So,
Kyle. Okay, Kyle.
so Tyrion, we never actually know who. So that guy's name was Waymar Royce. It never really tells us much about Waymar Royce. It's only one little name drop. Tyrion says when he's at the wall, like, oh, they sent out people ranging for Waymar Royce, for Jon Royce's son, which is Waymar Royce. At that point, that was the first time we'd ever heard of him. This is the first time we see him. But yeah, and we find out later when Sansa starts talking about like more the no-name people. He has two other sons in the tournament, Andar and Robar Royce.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna rattle off some of the other names that she goes through a whole list of them. I took forever to take notes because I had to create notes for a lot of these people. Some of them turn up later in kind of major ways. Some of them are just nobodies. I don't know if we ever hear him again. But she says Lord Jason Mallister. That's a big one.
That's the one that saw Catelyn.
That's one Cat saw on the road. So that kind of gives us, that's your timeline, right? This is about she said she was 2 weeks away from King's Landing at the time, so we assume this is about 2 weeks later. See him, Thoros of Myr. We see Sir Balon Swan, Lord Bryce Caron of the Marches, Andar and Robar, Jon's sons, who we just talked about. The twins, the Redwine twins, Horace and Hobber, Redwine. Lord Jason's son, Patrick, that Catelyn also saw. And then 6 of Walder Frey's sons and grandsons. They don't say which are sons, which are grandsons.
Is he the 90-year-old dude?
Yeah, he's still working.
90.
Okay.
Yeah, so his sons / grandsons are Sir Jared, Sir Hostine, Sir Danwell, Sir Emmon, Sir Theo, Sir Perwyn, and then there's a bastard, Martin Rivers. So, I don't know if we told Kyle this before. Did we talk about how bastards get, like, their last name?
Sir,
I
where
don't
they're
think
born.
we've talked about it.
Yeah, so where they're born. So, like, if you're born in the North Snow, this guy was born in the Riverlands, so that's why he's Martin Rivers. So that's a kind of a... Most people, I guess, if you don't know what the bastard name is for each region, you might think this is a normal name. But anybody named Rivers is a bastard that we ever see the rest of the books.
It's basically a noun.
Same for Stone. I think Stone is the bastard for the Vale.
There's
Yeah,
sand.
that sounds right.
I think Sand is for Dorne. I think Salt might be for the Iron Islands. We'll get more as we come across. So, again, a few more people. Again, it's in different paragraphs. She rattles off a bunch, but then she covers a few more new ones as we go through. So the next one, she says Gene Poole is afraid of this guy from the Summer Island called Jalabar Zoe. And basically he's just like a black guy. I guess it's like there's not many black guys in at least Westeros. It
Definitely
seems like they're
not
from
in
the
the
southern
north.
islands. Yeah, definitely not from the north. And that's when they contradict that with Sir Barristan, who we saw, or
Beric Dondarrion.
Sir Beric Dondarrion, who we saw in the last chapter with Ned, who Sansa thinks or Jean wants to marry.
What did he
immediately.
do He's the one that came in when...
Yeah, he just like comes in. He's like, I'm here to win the tournament,
yeah.
and that's basically all.
He
we
got
saw.
everybody fired up.
Yeah. So on top of that, she sees the Hound, people we know, Hound, Renly, and then we see from Winterfell, Jory, Allen, and Harwin. And they say that Jory looks super basic bitch compared to everyone else. Everyone else is kind of, looks like they probably shopped from that dude or somebody like that dude, that blacksmith from the last chapter.
I'm
And then
assuming
George just bringing
everyone-
shit he
Chapter.
made in his own fucking house.
Just shit from the forge. Probably
Yeah.
plain steel, looks good.
I'm assuming everyone from the north looks just as boring as Jordan.
Probably, yeah. I think they call Jory out because he gets the furthest, right? He does all right in the tournament, even though he looks pretty.
Yeah, I think he wins 2 bouts and then he loses the third to
and
somebody
he
good.
loses his third one to Judge's.
Yeah, so he beats one of the
Judge's
Redwine
decision.
twins and one of the Freys. And then he loses to a free rider named Lothar Brun, who we find out later does pretty well in the tournament. Like, he goes on to win a few more rounds. The other two lost right away. Alan lost to Marin Trant, who's in the Kingsguard, though. So, like, maybe Alan... Because, again, this is the guy who... I think Ned makes Alan in charge of the guardsmen that he gives to Janos. He gives 20 guardsmen to Janos, and he tells Littlefinger
Wasn't he the
to
one
buy
that was
50
watching
more.
his door though too?
No, that was Harwin.
Okay.
He tells Harwin, "Hey, tell Alan to go command his men."
Right.
And Arya is the one. Arya thinks Alan wants to be a knight. So again, we had said in that chapter that we thought Alan was probably one of the better fighters in Ned's service.
Yeah.
We see him. He loses to Marin Trant though, and then Harwin loses to Balon Swan. And Sansa's thinking about how Jane, I guess this is probably the first start of Jeff's compliment for Sansa. She's thinking that Jane is being like a little girl. Like anytime, like when they go to clash, every time like the horses come together, Jane's like turning around. But Sansa says she's like a lady and she knows what to do, and she like sits there and never flinches away, all that stuff.
So
It's because she's from the north.
So
well,
it's
Jane's from the
definitely
north too.
that's definitely part of it, but the other thing that happens is like the major thing.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep going.
First off, this tournament is sick.
Yeah,
They don't really.
sounds like something I wouldn't want to go to. Sounds way
You
too
wouldn't want to
intense.
go to the tournament?
It sounds
What?
too
Really?
intense, man.
Well, there's not normally deaths on there, dude. Spoiler alert.
Have you been to the
I
Ren
mean,
Fair?
this is like going to a football game in their time.
Have you guys seen the Ren
Yeah,
Fair?
I've been to the
Or
Renaissance.
the Ren
Fair.
Fair,
I
Joss?
know what it is, but I haven't been there. No,
They don't hit each other though.
That's
I mean,
that's
it's
what I'm
like
saying. Like this is probably there's
acting.
so much fucking.
I mean, I'm
power
sure
in
it's
this. It's probably
be
it's probably
sweet.
hard to watch. No,
yeah, but they're geared up and
So in the Duncan Egg prequels that we already did before Kyle joined in, there's
way cooler, Joust.
the whole first short story is about a tournament. Like half of it is, so we get a lot more like detail about it.
About
Our
what
first
tournament?
podcast, if you go back,
Yeah,
it's way. It
It's
doesn't
way
even-
more in depth.
it's called the Hedge Night. It's way more in depth. They talk about like the horses pounding, and it's a different style tournament.
Do we have to
They're
read
actually
that
having-
after number 7 of this? Is that?
Yeah,
I think
yes.
you're gonna want to. That it's a great book.
It is.
it's
good.
We're not
way
going to
more-
podcast
it's way more
because
bite-sized.
we already podcasted
Yeah, it's
it.
quick.
But in that one,
You
they get
if
way
you get
more
knocked
into it?
off your horse, you get up and you fight on
well,
foot.
yeah,
then.
in that one you keep fighting, but also
You fight until like you say like no, I don't want to die.
Do you have to fight the guy while he's
Can you
on
please
his
get
horse
off me?
still?
If he's still on his horse, yeah.
So
most
he
of
can
the time
stand.
they yield.
Yeah,
Most
you
of
can
the
stay
time
on the
they
horse.
yield. But the other guy can stay on the horse. But when we did that episode, Jeff said he wished this was still a thing. Do you remember that? Because I was like, dude, people die. And you're like, people get hurt in football, and you're like, we could make it safer.
You get geared up.
This is
yeah.
like
I mean, I'm
1,000
on
football
board. I'd go
games
to
all
it.
at once.
Yeah, I would go
seriously.
to it. I
That's
mean, they
Alright.
talk about it later, but like,
It's the same as we watch boxing. We literally watch. Did you see that girl's face in the last MMA fight?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, she
It looks like she looks like an alien.
I think the biggest
And
issue.
and people watched it. Her face. She had a brain contusion. She had to have. She had to have. She might be.
I don't
know.
I'm sure we
That's
said
not for
this
me
in that
either.
podcast too, but I bet you if people tried to bring back jousting, there'd be a bigger issue for the animal safety.
Yeah.
Like, we hear that a
That's
couple
very
horses
true.
die
For
here.
sure.
Or at least
People will
one
be
horse
bitching
dies
about that
here.
the whole time.
Sure.
People can die because
Well, they could do it on motorcycles or something.
Yeah, office
Segways.
chairs. Segways.
Segways. I like it.
Just another person carrying the other person.
Yeah, just shopping carts.
We can all
Jackass
ride
style.
Nelsons.
Alright.
Shopping
Yeah.
cart sounds like a
Next.
good
We'll
idea.
get a couple Lukes.
BMX bike.
So,
You
yeah.
can make it. I'm sure you can make it 1,000 times safer. Would it still hurt? Definitely. But moving on.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go through just basically what happens in the tournament. It doesn't really give us much, except for it kind of shows you who's good at fighting and who's not.
Before we
Go
get
ahead, Kyle.
too far into this, I did want to say that what did I say? I said that
You
Hound?
predicted the Hound would win by beating Sir Barristan. Does the Hound ever go against Sir Barristan? I don't know if it
No.
says it.
No,
No.
Barristan won against Jamie.
But the Hound's in the Final Four.
I said I forgot about the mountain, and I was like, I probably should have picked him because I've heard stories about him.
So they talk about what he does to Renly here, and we'll get to it in a sec. But he bulks Renly up.
Well, he
I think
kills
it's him.
him.
Maybe
Kills him,
maybe
dude.
it's the Hound. He does
No,
kill
no,
him.
it's
Come
the
on,
Hound.
let's go.
All right, we'll get to it. So a few more of the minor fights. Jamie beats Andar Royce, who's the other Royce son, and then Bryce Caron. He said he wins those two easily, and then he goes against Sir Barristan, who had also won 2 tilts. I forget one of them. They just end in a tie. I don't think it's this one though.
Yeah, it
I think
says
no.
there was no decision, but
goes
someone
to the
kept
ju-
going.
It goes to the king.
one of well, so there's one that goes 3 rounds and they make a decision, and then there's one that goes 3 rounds and they split it up.
yeah, it sounded like they made them both go again.
Was that the Jamie Barristan one?
No.
That was the Barrick. No, we'll get to it. I have them all
Doesn't
here.
matter. One
So
of those.
Aaron
that-
Sanagar and Lothar Brune tilted thrice without results.
There we go.
Aaron fell afterward to Malister, and
Yep.
Brune to Jan
Brune
Royce's
loses to
son,
Robar.
Robar.
Yep. So going back, Sansa thinks the Hound and Gregor, like Kyle was just saying, they're both. She thinks they're like probably doing the best. She says they're basically unstoppable, and the scariest part is when the mountain kills a Knight of the Vale, hits him in the neck with the lance, and then so the Hound talks about this a little bit later. Basically says he knows his brother probably saw that weakness in the armor and did it on purpose,
Yeah,
which is fucked.
because the mountain's a
Yeah,
fucking
I mean, we're
asshole.
talking about a fucking. We also learn that he's fucking crazy. Like,
Yeah, we find it. Yeah.
Fucking.
So, Kyle,
Sansa's-
at this point, what now knowing what we know about by the end of this chapter, what are your thoughts at this juncture?
Well, I think the Mountain could win at this point, but
Okay. Okay.
is that what
So
you're
that
asking
fucks
me?
up your prediction.
My
No, just in general, like the Mountain as a person.
Yeah.
From everything you've learned in this chapter.
well, we didn't get to the end of the chapter yet, and I
Okay.
have some reasons I think for what I'm, but we can get there.
Okay.
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 Don't forget to bring it up then.
Yeah, so Sansa's like talking about how that guy looks when he's dying. His like cloak, his like fancy blue cloak is like soaking up his blood, turning the blue moons to red.
White
and
moons.
at this point, yeah, white moons to red. And Jean freaks out and like
And this is where, Amelia, you probably are wrong.
Sansa.
No 11-year-old girl is watching this dude get stabbed in the neck and bleed out on the sand. I'm not. That's where we're all freaking out.
What's crazy is,
But you
I
still
get
want
why.
these. You still want jousts.
I'm saying you can make it safer. This guy didn't have the proper equipment on.
You're not gonna.
Also,
You could literally the
Well,
guy, the
Sansa
lady could
also
have died
just,
in the MMA
like-
fight, and everybody has no problem with that.
okay, so hold on. Here's what I'm going to point out about Sansa. That's real.
Apollo Creed died in Rocky IV.
Dude,
Here's
Sansa
a-
went
Still
through her
boxing.
brother falling off a tower and becoming a cripple, and then
She didn't watch it.
Yeah, but she like saw
didn't
her
watch
brother's
him fall from
disfigured
the tower.
body and all
hang
that
on,
shit.
hang on.
And then
Hang
also
on.
her fucking wolf got
No.
torn from her arms basically and killed.
Oh my!
So, hold on, here's-
shut up. She didn't see any of that happen.
And
Did
she's
she
up
have
the
to go
north.
to the beheadings ever, or was that just the sons?
So
It's
is
probably just
Gene
the
just
Poole.
sons.
Yeah.
So hold on. Here's what's crazy about this. I say we're making the comparison to MMA because it's brutal. If you have an MMA fight, right, and you're a little girl, and say you're front row to you're 11-year-old girl front row to an MMA fight, and you don't like freak out when somebody dies. To me, that would mean okay, you're conditioned, right? Not you can't just tell somebody, hey, don't freak out if
It's
somebody
the
dies.
first time she's been to a tournament.
Exactly. That is nuts. So you can tell someone don't freak out when somebody dies all you want. But like we said, they don't have tournaments in the North. It's not like Sansa is not freaking out because she's accustomed to it. It might be something kind of like Jeff said. She's like literally out of grief. And that's what she kind of says later about, I forget what she's talking about, but she says like, I cried about Bran. I cried about the wolf. I'm all out of sorrow or something like that.
Yeah, out of
she does
tears
say
or
that.
something.
I don't care. You're still gonna fucking.
But what's
She doesn't
weird,
even like flinch.
she says she finds it weirdly fascinating.
Watching
Right?
with a strange fascination, and it says she had never seen a man die before, so that puts that in there as well. So she is confirmed.
It's weird that she's able to handle this so well. It doesn't really make sense, and it kind of goes, Amelia, I'd love to hear if you think when you were 11, what your reaction would be if you witnessed this from front row, right? Even with all, say you do have all the training, like lady training, courtesy training of Sansa. I don't know how. I don't think I keep my
That's not
composure as
that's
an
not
11-year-old.
courtesy training, though. I don't think.
Fucking way. You don't
Yeah,
flinch
that's-
at all.
That guy just
And I know-
died.
And I have a 10-year-old sister. I know she flinches. She like can't watch scary movies. She leaves.
I
the
can't
room.
watch scary movies.
She like leaves the room for like
Well,
certain
that's 'cause
parts
you're
of
a
like
bitch,
Toy
though.
Story.
Certain parts of Toy Story.
I didn't.
Which
say
one?
that.
Two, 3?
I'm just kidding. I don't know if she leaves.
I mean,
she is
3 almost
very-
made
she
me
is
cry.
very
That's what I'm
No.
saying. Yeah.
Wow, you pussy.
All right, so a few more of the
You know
things
what
that
part
happen.
I'm talking about. That's so sad.
Let me rattle this through. Balon Swan loses to Sir Gregor. Renly loses to the Hound, and this is where Renly flew off his horse so hard that they heard a snap, and everyone's like, "Oh fuck, Renly's dead too." But it turned out to just be a golden antler off his helmet, and he tries to like nicely give it to the Hound, like, "Oh, here you go. Here's your prize for winning." But the Hound just snorts and throws it into the crowd.
Starts a riot.
You fucking.
And
cunt.
Renly has to go like calm him down. So Renly, I think she even says he's like a fan favorite. Everyone likes him. He looks like fancy. He looks like, I guess he's a showman. He's not a good
Yeah.
jouster. Clearly, he's not bad. It seems like he made it a few rounds.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
he's
he's
not-
horrible.
Yeah, he's nothing to write home about.
I mean, he lost to the
So
Hound.
afterwards-
He's fucking good.
Barrack's horse gets killed by some random hedge knight in a checkered cloak. Then Barrack loses to the guy Thoris of Myr. Aaron Santagar ties with Lothar Brune, like Kyle said.
Tyler?
Then
You're fucking
Tyler.
call me Tyler?
Dude, I'm reading. There's a fucking list of like 400 names in front of me. Give me a fucking break. Aaron Sanagar loses to Jason Mallister. So, who's Aaron Sanagar? Who remember? Kyle, do you remember?
Does
Not in this chapter.
Glow, do you remember?
I don't
Flo, do you
remember.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you remember?
Jeff, do you remember?
Dude,
The
Aaron,
disappointment on my face.
Aaron Santigar, dude, that's a fucking random name.
He's
I've
a
never heard that name in
Dornishman.
my life.
He's a Dornishman. I don't think that'll help Kyle, but it might help Glow or Jeff. We've already heard of him. He's the only Dornishman we've seen so far before this.
No, I don't recall.
He's the Master at Arms. He's the one that when Catelyn comes to King's Landing, she sends Sir Roger to talk to about the dagger.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one like in charge of the armory, in charge of training people.
All right. The only reason you knew that is because you had to create the note for him today.
Yeah, no, I created a note for him 2 months ago when
All
I
right,
read
well,
Catelyn.
yeah,
it
right,
linked and
bullshit.
it rang
And I
your
knew
bell.
it- I knew
if
it
I had a
before.
note in front of me, it would have rang my bell too.
Yeah, well, also, we talked about him in the spoiler section. Not trying to give anything away for Kyle, but we talked about him for at least 5-10 minutes in the spoiler section.
I
You
do
probably
kinda
had
remember
some
that.
crazy fucking
Yeah,
Yeah, I
thing
thank
wasn't
about
there
it.
for that.
I know. So, Kyle, you have. That's why when I said Dornishman, I thought these guys would get it, because that's what we talked about. All right, Jeff, who's the final four?
Final four are the Hound, Sir Gregor, Jaime Lannister, and the young gun, Loras Tyrell,
All right,
the
so
Knight of Flowers.
we talked about him a lot a couple chapters ago. Not a lot, but we touched on him a little bit. I don't know why we touched about him in the Ned chapter.
They brought him
he
up
got
like
brought
twice.
up. Yeah,
I think he got brought up
Oh,
twice.
he
in
was the one.
chapter.
Yeah, because he was the one. So he was brought up just in passing, but I read the quote about him the first time. So the quote was when Little Cat is talking to Littlefinger about the dagger, and Littlefinger says he lost the dagger in the bet
when
because
Sir Loras unhorsed Jaime Lannister.
yeah, and these two are in the finals. We're gonna get a
He's
rematch.
so he must have been like 15 or
Dun, dun,
14.
dun.
when he did
Exactly.
that.
It was 2 years ago.
14.
Right? So he
Young
was
bull.
14.
What a
Now he's
badass.
fired.
So you were
Hang
joking.
on.
So hold on. You were saying Joffrey jokingly. Joffrey's what, 13 here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joffrey's
Loras
young
beat
bull.
Jamie when he was 14.
And
Joffrey
Joffrey's like, oh, wait till I get on the horse.
Joffrey could be out here.
I'll best them all.
Joffrey's a
Doesn't
little
look like
bitch.
he is. Doesn't look like he is, but he could have been out here. Hey, Joffrey's a nice guy. This
Is
chapter.
Joffrey on the same
put
training?
him on
I
a
would
show.
assume he would. Like, they would train him to be a knight, too, because they don't want a king to be a pussy.
Well, I don't know what else you do if you're like a king's son, right? You just got to train all day.
I don't think
He doesn't look like
And,
he
but
trains.
you gotta, like, train politics.
He was training in Winterfell with Rob and them. Remember, he's like, "Let's fight with real swords,
Yeah, I know, but
Stark.
still.
I'm not a child or whatever."
I just didn't know, like, because Loras has an older brother, he's
He has
not
a couple
the true
of
heir.
brothers. Yeah,
Does he just, like, fight all day?
that's
'Cause
that's a good
all
point.
he can become is a knight, really.
That's a good point. Like Ned talks about
Or a
how he
hold-
has to train.
Or a smaller holdfast.
Because Ned talks about how he has to like teach Rob how to be a lord and all that stuff.
But Bran...
Probably don't have. Yeah,
Bran's dream is to be a knight.
be a knight, exactly. Your youngest son, Bran's not the youngest, but the younger son kind of has to find his own way. So yeah, Kyle, thoughts on besides the fact that he's young and good at fighting. We find out he unhorsed 3 members of the Kingsguard who are supposed to, like we said, be like the best in the realm. And he was beautiful. His armor was enameled with flowers. His horse was draped in a blanket of flowers. And when he would win, he would pick a white rose and give it to a fair maid.
Well,
you
when
wanna
he
pick
wins
up-
the
you wanna
fourth
talk about his
round-
last one, his last round.
Yeah, man. Who did he go up against?
Robar Royce. So
Okay,
the one
yeah,
that
yeah.
beats Lothar Brune.
He went up to Sansa and gave her a red rose.
So Sansa thinks it's all fancy because it's the first time she knows.
So he gives a rose after every
No
victory,
victory
but
is half as
they were all
beautiful
white
as you.
ones. And he
Yeah.
gave her a red one.
a red one. So if there's
So if you're in middle school and you're giving out carnations, white means like friend.
Friend.
Red means I love you. Pink would mean I like you.
Pink means I'm not sure.
how old's Sansa here? 9? 10?
11.
11.
So
Or
5-year
12.
difference.
She might be 12 now.
Yeah, but
I think her name day does come and go.
she's close to her flower.
All right, bro.
That's not where I was. That's not what I was getting at.
All right, George. Relax.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So you're saying Loras gave her red flower? Is that what you're implying here? Amelia's never going to tune back in.
That was more like, hey, wait till you get your red flower. Then.
Then come back.
Yeah.
Wait till you get your red flag.
I don't even know what to say.
So
how do we get out of
my
this?
thing is, it might even be a coincidence, right? So
Well, we
don't
realize
know-
I'm just kidding.
We don't know how many Loras won, but they only mentioned he unhorsed 3 Kingsguard. So maybe only 3 other fights. So maybe 3 white roses, right? At that ratio, 1 to 3, it's
25%.
it could be a toss up. It could be a random pick every time, and Sansa just got lucky.
Nah.
She attributes
Red
something to
flower.
it, but she could have just got lucky.
Red flower.
Red flower.
I think
Kyle?
there's a little there.
If
I
you
think
just
he's-
follow
I
the
think he's
middle
hitting
school
on her.
rules about carnations.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so, once she gets a flower from Loris, all of a sudden this creepy dude with a little beard comes up, little
With a mockingjay on his.
Mockingjay pin, starts talking to her like, you must be one of Catelyn's daughters or something like that. I forget exactly what he says, but I think it's something along those lines.
Yeah, he's like, you must
I
be
see
one of
you've got your
hers.
red flower, right?
He's like, you have the Tully coloring.
Yeah, you have the Tully
And then-
coloring. You have her hair, touches her face, and walks
Yeah, it's
away.
creepy as shit.
Fucking
So
really weird.
Septa introduces them, and he has like the weirdest opening line ever. Right? Your mother was my queen of beauty once. That's like literally meeting you. Like that's like if somebody walks up to you for the first time and was like, "Hey, I was in love with your mom." It's like, what
I loved
the
your mom.
hell are you talking about?
Hey,
Hey.
I hate your dad and I love your mom. It's kind of like Professor Snape.
Touches hair, dips. So that's basically all we get Littlefinger in this chapter. Kyle, do you think what's up with this? We know a little bit about Littlefinger. He's not dumb. He's not. Maybe he's creepy, but he's not like I don't know. He doesn't. This seems a little out of character for Littlefinger. I thought doesn't seem very thought out. Yeah, what's his play? Doesn't seem thought out. Maybe it is just like a random encounter. He didn't plan on this at all.
Probably just keeping tabs on him.
Okay. Do you
Just
think
the-
she?
just the mention,
Oh, you
the
think he
mention?
might have been
And it
spying on her
reminds him
prior?
of his youth, probably, because obviously he thinks of her as looking like Catelyn, so he's probably...
That's a good point because he's probably most used to seeing Cat at this age.
Yeah.
Or close to
That's
this
very
age, right?
true.
When he was this age too, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as creepy as Jeff, yeah.
so by this point the king calls an end to everything, and he says they're going to do the finals and the semifinals
getting dark.
the next day. Yeah, she says the moon's already up. They're going to do it the next day before the melee. We'll keep going. So they king announces they're going to have the next part of the tournament on the next day, and they go to the feast.
Let's drink.
All right, Glow. How's the feast start off? Set the atmosphere for us. I know you love talking about the food.
I mean, there's plenty of food. I forget what all types of food there are. I think snails
The
are
main
one of
thing
the
is they have
snails,
snails
right?
is one of them.
Pigeon
some
pie.
fish baked in clay, pigeon pie. But
Lemon
they say
cakes.
There's
Lemon cakes.
six aurochs. Aurochs.
It's like a bull.
Aurochs.
Roasting
Six
on
bulls?
six aurochs roasting on a spit
And they're
all
fucking
day.
huge.
And they've just had like servants
how
basting
good
them
do
in
you
butter
think those
and
are?
herbs. No, they
How
said
dry is
no,
it?
because they said they had servants basting them in butter and
Yeah, it's
herbs all
probably
day long.
so good, dude.
It's probably so good.
But
I wanna
still, the
try it.
outside layer is probably still pretty
Your
fucking
job
Yeah,
for
it's
the
probably
entire
still
day is
good.
pick
No,
up
it's like
butter
a
and
pig
put it
roast,
on.
yeah.
It's banging,
good.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah, you never had a pig roast.
I'm
have you,
sure
bud?
it's great. I've been to a fucking pig
Well,
roast.
they
You haven't
could
been
tell
to
which-
aurochs roast.
Yeah.
The outside of the pig is pretty fucking hard.
Not if you have servants basting it with butter the whole time. You freaking got Todd throwing your pig in a smoker and leaving it there for 12 hours. Todd has no idea what he's doing with a smoker.
Yeah,
No
so
more than
basically
4 hours of
Sansa's
sleep.
at the feast with Joffrey, and actually Joffrey's acting pretty nice, but she's pretty timid in the beginning. Like
Which is
he's
weird.
sitting
'cause they
next to
haven't
me, I haven't
since the
talked to
dawn.
you since then. But
So that's why she's timid, because she doesn't know like
Since
where they're
later.
at. She doesn't
That's why
know
he's
what
being
are
nice,
we.
too.
She's probably like, oh, she's texting him at like 3 a.m. What are we right
Yeah. What's
That
our
kinda shit.
label?
Yeah,
Do we have a
exactly.
label?
now?
what are we?
Well, no, doesn't
Yeah, they
he
do
say
have a label.
betrothed somewhere?
Yeah, he
though?
does says betrothed.
He says what?
He calls her his
Betrothed.
betrothed.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I didn't
Take
catch
my
that.
betrothed back to the castle. So, I
That's
mean,
way
it's still...
later in the night.
So yeah, he says like you have. So he comes up. He's like, Loras has a keen eye for beauty because Loras picked her out. So I don't know if that had anything to
He's
do with it. Maybe a
salty.
little jealousy.
That's definitely
Yeah,
what's
he's a
going
little
on there.
jealous.
Yeah.
Especially because he's not in the tournament, and it's not even like it's like Jamie or somebody who's been around the block. It's a guy who's like 2 years older than him. You know what I mean?
Oh, so not to sound like Jeff here, but apparently Sansa is pretty sexy if everyone's staring at her as she's.
Whoa, dude, she's 11.
Well, she said she does say when
Yeah,
she's there.
dude.
People are
Weird
staring at, which
shit.
is weird as shit. Why is everyone staring at an 11-year-old? Like, yo, this
So
girl's
she-
hot.
again-
Like I said when we talked about Amelia, it's the time period. Not Amelia. Daenerys.
Well, Amelia Clark.
If it's Amelia Clark,
So
she's
the
not
other thing
13.
is, it's from her perspective. So you're talking about the part where she first shows up. She's like, all the eyes were on her, and she loved it, right? So okay, she thinks that, but do people really give a shit about the 11-year-old girl who they've never heard of? maybe like, ooh, who's that? But
They
I
don't know
doubt
who
that
she
they're like,
is.
damn.
She's
Yeah,
first
they
off,
probably
she's
have
sitting
someone-
next to the king.
Yeah, she probably
I mean, they know she's
a
fancy,
Stark
but
girl. She's
I
the
doubt
hand
she's
of
met
the
most
king's
of the
daughter.
I
hot,
know
like,
she's the
lords
hand's
and
daughter.
ladies.
Is what I'm saying. I think there's some of that is like kind of looking into it because they know she's going to be the next queen.
If she hasn't, yeah, true, but also if she hasn't been out and about much, probably all people know is, oh, that's the girl who got her dog killed. That's the girl who got her dog killed. You know what I mean? That might be what's going on in the crowd too. Is if she's not like out and about meeting these people
It could
already.
be.
I'm sure that's what
disagree.
most people know about her.
You think that was a big story?
I
Do
disagree.
you think they wanted to humiliate Joff like that?
no.
No.
Yeah, they probably
I
kept that hush
disagree.
hush.
You don't think anybody was saying that?
No, I think it's because she's going to be the next fucking queen.
Okay.
Alright, next.
That's a good point. So yeah, so she thinks Joffrey's beautiful. She says he's too beautiful to hate, even if she wanted to, and she doesn't hate him anyway. Like after she was done crying about everything, she realized it was all Cersei and Arya's fault. Joffrey had nothing to do with it, and she even feels bad because it looks like his arm still hurt. Like as
He wouldn't
is,
like he
serving
wouldn't
her.
cut something. Yeah, he was.
So yeah, he's like Will said,
Joffrey.
he tries to serve her some snails. He serves her some fish from like cooked in clay. And then she is just having... So he also pours wine for her and Septa. And he pours a lot
Well, he
of wine
pours
for
it for
Septa,
Septa
apparently.
just so he lets Sansa drink.
can drink. But I think he probably starts pouring a little bit extra for Septa by the way we see her at the end.
She's old.
Right?
Yeah, she's fucking passes out.
She's old
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, she is old.
She does get hammered.
So she's having before that she's having the time of her life because there's singers, there's jugglers, there's a simple fool named Moon Boy who's dancing around on stilts, going around making fun of everyone. And Sansa's like, I don't even know if he's simple because like the jokes he's telling are pretty clever. Joffrey's really
No, I
polite.
thought it was at one point he was like doing something so stupid that he might actually be simple.
No, it was
No,
vice
no,
versa.
Oh, it was the other
It was
way.
what
Yeah,
Nelson
I read it
said.
Yeah.
He's too
So
on
by the time the
ball to be-
lemon cakes are coming out, which are Sansa's favorite, this is when
No!
You do not tell me what to do, woman.
I am king here. Do you understand? I rule here, and if I say that I will fight tomorrow, I will fight! Ah!
Give me my hammer, and not a man in the realm can stand before me. That's what.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
so
And he just
Well, no, he
pushes
says
the
that to
shit out of
Jamie.
Jamie.
Oh, yeah,
He's a
yeah.
little
Yeah, that's
bitch
after
boy.
he
pushes
says that
Jamie.
after he pushes Jamie.
You're right. Yeah.
Jamie puts his hand on his shoulder and he just like tosses Jamie. Right, so
I need to see Robert.
so we know Jamie and Cersei.
Whoa,
Right,
spoilers.
so-
yeah.
So Jamie is probably pissed.
They were
seeing,
wrestling. They weren't diddling.
Jamie is probably pissed seeing Robert do this to not only even if it's just his sister and there's nothing else, but sister and especially somebody he's intimate with.
sister he wrestles with.
And he's got to be having his sword on. So I don't know if Kyle knows this, but the rule is no one is allowed to wear a sword in the king's presence except for the Kingsguard.
I don't.
And Robert calls him Kingslayer here. He says
Is
he
that a
pushes him
bad
down.
thing?
He's like, the great knight, I can still knock you in the dirt. Remember that Kingslayer? He's the king calling somebody a Kingslayer.
It's a huge.
It's a bad nickname.
It's like a slight
Okay.
because you were supposed to protect him and you fucking killed him. Like it's
It's a jab.
it's not a good thing. Yeah. Jamie's like, okay, Grace, you're right, little pussy boy.
Yeah, he just kind of gives up. But he's got to be pissed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, he
he's
says
definitely pissed.
it's like whatever
he says his voice was stiff.
So as soon as this happens, Joffrey, I can't tell what Sansa says. It's like a weird look on his face or something. She looks through him. I take it as embarrassment. He's embarrassed his dad's being an asshole.
Sansa started as Joffrey laid his hand on her arm. It grows late, the prince said. He had a queer look on his face, as if he were not seeing her at all. Do you need an escort back to the castle?
Yeah. So is this his embarrassment or is there something weird going on here?
Just queer look. Just a weird look.
I mean, your dad just freaked out at your mom at a fucking
I feel like I would be
huge
embarrassed,
party.
right?
Yeah.
I think he's firmly
it can't,
on Team Cersei.
can't be the first time.
Oh,
gonna say that-
he's like going to talk to his mom.
He's definitely a mama's boy. He's wearing Lannister shit.
That's
still.
true. So yeah, we didn't talk about this either. He is wearing a blue doublet with Lannister with like lion heads on it. Mm-hmm. No stag stuff. He's wearing a golden crown with sapphires, but like no, it doesn't seem like not even wearing Baratheon colors. Baratheon colors are black and gold. He's wearing blue and lion
Lion
heads.
heads.
That's the whole point of him, is to give Cersei the king, essentially. The Lannisters the kingship next time.
He's their in.
Yeah, for sure.
And you think he'll...
So
Cersei's
Cersei's just riding him out.
Yeah.
It'll go down in history as a Baratheon.
Yeah.
It doesn't have
But
to.
I guess,
He'll be the king,
and
he
I
can
guess,
do whatever he wants.
and yeah, that's true. But I also guess, as long as Cersei outlives Robert, right, then she is like, even as long as she always has like a say, right? Once he becomes king, regardless of how old he is, even if it's not like till he's like 30 when he becomes king, if she's alive, she'll have the king's ear, probably more than she does now. It seems like she has pretty good control of Robert now. I mean, we've said how many times he kills the wolf. He seems to do a lot of shit for her, or at least not fight her on a lot of stuff. This is the opposite of that. He is drunk and he's gonna have his way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we said it. Here's the long quote. So basically the whole walk, the part where Sansa and Gregor are talking to each other, is what I have as a quote here.
Sandor.
Sandor. Yeah, Sandor. Sansa and Sandor. That's a nice little ring. Let's talk about his face first. She takes a look at it in a little bit, but just to keep this quote a little bit shorter. The right side of his face, not a normal face, gaunt, sharp cheekbones, gray eyes, large hook nose, thin hair.
Large hook nose is okay though. It's actually
and he
attractive.
brushed his hair to try and cover his. He brushed his hair to try and cover his like burnt side of his face, and the left side of his face, which is the bad part, his ear was burned away. There's just a hole there. His eye, she said it looks like it still works, but all around it was like just a nasty, massive scar. Black flesh, like hard as leather, pocked with craters and fissures and deep cracks that gleamed red and wet. Like when like the muscles of his face moved.
Shit's
A
gross.
piece of bone was
He's
shown in his
basically-
jaw.
He's
Yeah.
basically Two-Face.
Two-Face, kind of, right? It
Basically
seems a
Two-Face.
little more burnt on the outside, a little more
Little
well
charred.
done, a little more well done instead of the medium that Two-Face has. But yeah, pretty rough. So again, 11-year-old girl looking at this guy, huh?
Tell Harvey Dent
Harvey Dent.
Two-Face was just here.
Harvey Dent. Scary face. Where's scary face?
Can we trust him? Let's go.
All right, so it starts off close. Start off with, you rode gallant today, Sir Sandor. And Kyle, I'll do narrator.
You rode gallant today, Sir Sandor.
She made herself say. Sandor Clegane snarled at her.
Spare me your empty little compliments, girl. And your sirs. I am no knight. I spit on them and their vows. My brother is a knight. Did you see him ride today?
Yes,
Sansa whispered, trembling.
he was.
Gallant?
The hound finished. He was mocking her, she realized.
No one could withstand him.
She managed at last, proud of herself. It was no lie. Sandor Clegane stopped suddenly in the middle of the dark and empty field. She had no choice but to stop beside him.
Some scepter trained you well. You're like one of those birds from the summer owls, aren't you? A pretty little talking bird, repeating all the pretty little words they taught you to recite.
That's unkind.
Sansa could feel her heart fluttering in her chest.
You're frightening me. I want to go now.
No one could withstand him.
The hound rasped.
That's truth enough. No one could ever withstand Gregor. That boy today, his second joust. Oh, that was a pretty bit of business. You saw that, did you? Fool boy. He had no business riding in this company. No money, no squire, no one to help him with that armor. That gorget wasn't fastened proper. You think Gregor didn't notice that? You think Sir Gregor's lance rode up by chance? Do you? Pretty little talking girl. You believe that? You're empty-headed as a bird for true. Gregor's lance goes where Gregor wants it to go. Look at me. Look at me!
Sandor Clegane put his huge hand under her chin and forced her face up. He squatted in front of her and moved the torch close.
There's a pretty for you. Take a good long stare. You know you want to. I've watched you turning away all the way down the King's Road. Piss on that. Take your look.
His fingers held her jaw as hard as an iron trap. His eyes watched hers, drunken eyes, sullen with anger. She had to look. So this is where they talk about the face that we saw earlier, but let's talk about we're gonna do the second half of this quote too, but let's talk about the like what they talk about here, Kyle. So I think this is what you were waiting for when we were talking about Sir Gregor earlier. This part where they talk about him killing, or do you want to get the rest of it before
part.
we talk? Okay. Sansa began to cry. He let go of her then and snuffed out the torch in the dirt.
No pretty words for that girl? No little compliment Deceptive taught you?
When there was no answer, he continued.
Most of them, they think it was some battle, a siege, a burning tower, an enemy with a torch. One fool asked if I was dragon's breath.
His laugh was softer this time, but just as bitter.
Ha ha ha. I'll tell you what it was, girl.
He said, a voice from the night, a shadow leaning so close now that she could smell the sour stench of wine on his breath.
I was younger than you, 6, maybe 7. A wood carver set up shop in the village under my father's keep, and to buy favor he sent us gifts. The old man made marvelous toys. I don't remember what I got, but it was Gregor's gift I wanted. A wooden knight, all painted up, every joint pegged separate and fixed with strings, so you could make him fight. Gregor is 5 years older than me. The toy was nothing to him. He was already a squire, near 6 foot tall, and muscled like an ox. So I took his knight, but there was no joy to it, I tell you. I was scared all the while, and true enough, he found me. There was a brazier in the room. Gregor never said a word, just picked me up under his arm and shoved the side of my face down in the burning coals and held me there while I screamed and screamed. You saw how strong he is. Even then, it took 3 grown men to drag him off me. The Septons preach about the 7 hells. What do they know? Only a man who's been burned knows what hell is truly like. My father told everyone my bedding had caught fire, and our maesters gave me ointments. Ointments! Gregor got his ointments too. 4 years later they anointed him with the 7 oils, and he recited his knightly vows, and Rhaegar Targaryen tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Arise, Sir Gregor."
Alright. So, Kyle, I assume you did not know this about the Hound.
I still don't know that I believe it 100%. I feel like we
Okay.
might hear this story again, and it might be different
Okay.
or more
From
added to it.
from him not drunk, you mean?
Yeah,
Or we get
from
Gregor's
Gregor.
side? Okay. What were you going to say about Gregor that we were waiting for this?
Well, I mean, I'm just not completely sold on him being
Being a huge
awful
asshole.
yet. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know that I believed this story 100%.
I guess it is easy to just say because he's big and killed a guy today, you can just kind of say whatever you want and Sansa would probably buy it.
Well, I think he's just spiteful and lived in his shadow his whole life, so I don't
That's
know.
okay.
He might have
That's a good point as
not
well.
good things to say about him.
Okay. So, it kind of, I don't know if this is what Sandra was going for, but after this story, Sansa really isn't afraid of him anymore. She says she more is afraid for him and sad for him than she is afraid of him. And she, like, puts her hand on his shoulder to try and, like, comfort him, and she says, Gregor is no true knight. And he just, like, roars with laughter. And then, basically, from then on, they go in silence until they get back to the room. And when he goes to drop her off, he basically says, if you tell anyone what I told you, I'll kill you. Which,
And
it
that's
seems
kinda
like he
what-
was opening up a little bit. And then I feel like he probably realized he was drunk and maybe he said some shit he shouldn't have said. And just wish he could take it back.
I mean, he was like grabbing her and shit. Like,
I think that
He,
could
like,
go
holding
that
her.
way, or he could also be just he knows that, again, I mean, I guess the whole future queen thing, he's kind of getting an in and getting her sympathy now, and if she
The thing is, I feel like if anybody doesn't need that, it's the Hound, who is the personal bodyguard of the would-be king.
I guess
Right?
you're
If
right,
she's queen,
that's
he's
true.
the right-hand man of Joffrey. Right now, at least
But he
right
has
now.
no
I
respect
guess
for him. He calls him dog all the time. Hey, dog.
That's true. And I guess if Joffrey becomes king, he gets 7 new bodyguards. He doesn't really need the Hound anymore. He has the King's Guard. But yeah, I don't know. It's this is an interesting little insight into the Hound, and I guess Gregor a little bit too.
Yeah, it just kind of felt not 100% true, and I guess part of that's probably me being tainted as well by you saying that he uses untrustworthy narrators or whatever.
He does, yes.
So I kind of read everything with a little bit more scrutiny. but
With a grain of salt.
Okay, so what's the overall point of the chapter? If there's something George is trying to get the reader to understand, is this just like a huge world building? What is it called?
World building. Character development. World building.
Info drop. Is that what they call it? Something drop where they just
Plot drop.
yeah, whatever it is, where they just give you like they just throw a ton of background at you, get it all out of the way.
Garbage. Plot dump.
Kinda plot dump, something like that. It seems kind of like that. It's a ton of names, and it's kind of just like telling you who's good at, like, a little bit who's good at fighting, who's not, and then a bunch of names of some people who become important 2 books down the road, and some people who we never hear of again. Besides that, is there anything you think, any other meanings behind this? Again, it seems like this big quote at the end, and then just kind of a big info dump at the beginning.
it's also building the tensions of political turmoil within King's Landing here. Because, I mean,
between Robert and Cersei?
Yeah, and it kind of is painting their sides a little, I'd say, as well. Like, it's obviously the Lannisters on Cersei's side, but...
One of the questions we asked you in the last chapter was, do you think Ned or Robert are going to fight in the tournament? Looks like Ned didn't fight in the joust. Robert didn't fight in the joust. Robert wants to fight in the melee.
What did I say?
You said if Ned does, it would validate the tournament. You said you don't think he will, because if he does, it would validate it for him.
It's weird that his name isn't mentioned.
The hands torn. They don't say the hands.
He's not even there. Or it doesn't even say like where he is.
He does not get a link in this note anywhere.
I never even thought about that.
The only mention of him is Peter.
Yeah. Yeah, when he said something about her father.
Well, the next
That's
chapter
the only mention of him.
We might find out where he was.
Yep. So, what do you think? Does Robert fight in the melee? Who are you sticking with here? The Hound wins the tournament.
So, I think plot-wise, so now I'm not really thinking who I think would win, but I think Jaime might end up winning based on, somebody...
He lost to Loras. And
somebody letting him win. Maybe not straight up throwing it, but I think...
Like, paid off?
Well, just to give Jaime some... because he's so flashy, and this matters so much to him, his honor, but... Especially with the fight.
You think Jaime cares? Jaime seems like somebody who doesn't care about his honor too much. People call him Kingslayer. Maybe not doesn't care, but has kind of already...
Maybe not his honor, but his public perception. The perception of him.
Being a badass.
Maybe not, being the best dude, but, there's a reason he's the head of the King's Guard.
Maybe, okay, gotcha. Maybe not he's the nicest guy ever, but hey, he knows what he's doing. He's good at what he does.
Don't fuck with him.
A badass. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, all right. Final answer.
But I'm
Jaime?
going to stick with what my final answer is. I'm going to stick with what I said before, because I said it before.
Okay.
So.
All right.
You said the Hound.
Anything else in this chapter, Kyle?
Cal.
No, I think that was about all I had.
All right. Next chapter, you said Ned. Ned 7.
Ned 7.
Ned 7.
All right. Probably.
Ned
I assume
7.
we're going to get an end to this tournament. So we'll see if Kyle's predictions are correct or not. Hopefully.
All right, Kyle. Good seeing you, bud.
Right,
Have
Kyle.
a wonderful evening, friend.
See ya, Kyle.
Later.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
See you later, Kyle. It was great hanging out, bud. And now on to the spoiler section of Sansa 2. Guys, what are your hot takes on this episode?
Chloe, this isn't a video podcast. Nobody can see. You don't have to do all those news reporter head shakes and head bobs.
But it gets me into it. Gets the flow going.
Glo, brace yourself because Nelson was watching theory videos all fucking
Well, there's a theory
afternoon.
video I know about this
Good God.
that I wanted to refresh before we did it.
About
But
Sandor lying and
No, so
Gregor's actually a good guy.
do you guys think that
I
that's
think
true
he
at
was
all?
completely off.
No,
I think
not at
Kyle
all.
will change. I think Kyle will change his ways when Gregor decapitates a horse in one sword blow next chapter.
For no reason, for fucking losing a joust.
So here's the thing, though. Kat sees. It's crazy that
You know what's weird, though, in the show? Sir Loras gives Sansa the flower when he beats Sir Gregor.
Yeah, and Sir Gregor is cutting the head off the horse while that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Sansa finds out about the Hound's face through Littlefinger, not through Sandor.
During the joust.
During the joust, which makes it...
And nobody walks her home.
Yeah, that part's not in it. There's no feast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part, I could definitely see it being more of a lie
because
it comes from Littlefinger.
They wake up that morning and Robert wants the melee.
Yeah, the next day. Well,
no, that day.
The morning, he's like, "Get me the breastplate stretcher."
Yeah, fat fuck.
The breastplate stretcher. How long do you think till he figures it out?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's real quick before we get into that theory. And again, I don't know it that in and out of my hand. Basically the gist of it is this tournament mirrors a lot Lyanna's tournament. There's like a lot of the same things, just kind of slightly flipped around. But we'll get to that at the end. Start off. Let's just talk about some of the people who they name who later become important. I was talking with Jeff a little bit about this earlier, so I'll do a little quiz for Glow.
Okay.
I'm gonna name some people. You tell me what happens, why they're important later. Start off with the easy one. Thoros of Myr.
Who? Thoros of Myr? He's the Red Priest that works with Beric Dondarrion and resurrects him. The ironic part is he knocks Beric Dondarrion off his horse, and later on in the story, he actually revives him.
Yeah, so it's cool that they... And again, like, George R. R. Martin had to have this planned out, right?
He had to.
At least he knew they were going to be together in a band of brothers. Sir Balon Swan. Jeff had to Google this one.
Balon Swan, I have no idea.
I Googled it on my own, though. I Googled it on my own because I knew it was important.
Swan sounds like a bastard name. I don't know what territory it would be from, though.
It's not. Jeff?
He is a member of the new Kingsguard.
He's a future Kingsguard. He replaces, I don't remember who, but he replaces somebody. Either Barristan when he gets kicked out. I think they kick out Barristan to bring the Hound in, but he takes over for somebody when they die.
Or Meryn Trant.
Lord Bryce Caron, I don't know if we know him. Andar and Robar. Robar Royce, I feel like gets mentioned a few times, but I'm not sure why. He might be one of the Lord...
Royce is what, Riverlands?
No, he's one of the high...
Kinglands?
He's one of the people in the Vale. There's two. There's Bronze Jan Royce and there's Nestor Royce.
Are they there when Sansa's...
Yes, they're two of the Lord Declarant. I think they're both Lord Declarant. One of them is the House of the Gates of the Moon.
Right.
Which is the lesser of the Royce house. And then I think that's Nestor Royce. And then Bronze Jan is like the Lord Royce. He has the Royce house.
So what, the Vale is east of the Trident, correct?
Yeah, east. It's in the mountains, basically right up against
So it's basically the... Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you need the map?
So, let's keep going. Horus and Hober Redwyn. They call them the Redwine twins. I don't know if they're that important. Walder Frey. Okay, so there's some important Walder Frey children they mention here. Jared, I don't think we ever hear about again. I'm not sure. Sir Hostine. He becomes a big one.
I don't remember Hostine.
Quiz for both of you guys.
He's the dad of the two that get sent to Winterfell.
So those two are cousins. He might be the father of one of them. He is leading... This might be a spoiler for Winds of Winter chapters. He's leading the attack on Stannis.
That's a spoiler. Thanks, dog.
From Winterfell?
Yeah, because at the end of the Dance of Dragons, they find out that
I didn't know that.
one of the Frey boys dies. And remember at the end of Dance of Dragons, they keep finding dead bodies. One of the Frey boys is dead, and that morning they have like a hall, and Ramsay's like, "Who killed this guy?" And the other Frey, I think it's Big Walter, blames it on
one of the mermen.
The merman people.
I forget their name. Whitewater,
White Harbor, Manderley, the Manderleys. And the Manderleys, and while Fat Lord Manderley is sitting there like eating his food, and he like blames it on the Freys. He says the Freys don't belong here. They betrayed the North, and because they're at conflict inside the castle, that's who Roose sends out to attack Stannis. He's like, "Hey, we're going to attack them. You two are causing an issue in here. You go out the west gate. You go out the east gate. Attack fucking Stannis." And Hoster is the main Frey there. He's like the highest ranking Frey.
But isn't Manderley going to try and meet up with Stannis and like?
Yeah,
hey.
People think Manderleys are on Stannis' side, and it's like
Well, didn't he do something with? Was that Sam?
There's a couple families in the north.
So part of the Great Northern Conspiracy. I know it's way farther down the line.
Exactly. There's
a
lot
of shit.
They're
making snowmen out of it. and like Lord Manderley's one. I forget who the other people are, but it's because they are Snow men. Like they're loyal to Jon Snow.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff with the Great Northern Conspiracy, and there's a lot of North houses that seem like they're on Ramsay's side, but end up like vowing to or being on the side of Stannis in the end. But yeah, Hosteen is basically, he seems like he's attacking Stannis for real. Like he has no reason to join Stannis' cause. Sir Emmon Frey.
Fuck him.
Who's he? He shows up in Feast of Crows chapter with Jaime Lannister, and he is very annoying and kind of...
What is he, like, leading the siege against River Run?
He's at the siege of River Run, but he's not leading it. He's waiting for it to end because...
It's his house.
It's his. He's the one who's like, I have a decree from King Tommen, and he's married to Lyanna Lannister, who's Tywin's sister. So he's basically Jaime's uncle.
Shit.
And that's the aunt who she keeps saying, like, shut the hell up, Aemon. Like, everyone knows you have that stupid paper. It's not going to bring the walls of River Run down anymore. And they're like, let's just burn it out, or let's just storm the walls, and let's, like...
No, that's my castle.
No, those are my people. Yeah, exactly. And they're like, shut the fuck up. That's Aemon. That's the last one, I think. I think Martin Rivers might do something again. Not much. Jalabar Zoe. This isn't a big one, but he does show up, pretty frequently.
So I
He's
didn't
the
know
pirate. He's the pirate!
Is he the pirate? No.
Fuck.
Joe is... I know there's a Joe in...
He runs the
Marine.
fleet.
No. Jalabar Joe basically just shows up at the council, and he keeps like, hey, I need money. I need money to get a fleet so I can take my home island back, or something like that. And Robert just keeps saying, next year, next year, next year. And there's a part where Cersei says, like, oh, I know I can just put him off by saying next year. He hasn't been really important yet, but... It seems like he has something to do with like the Littlefinger death scheme. Like he's kind of there to prove that, hey, the crown is still not well off. They don't even have enough money to spare this guy a few ships. Next is Beric Dondarrion. You already touched on it. We got Hound, Renly, Jory Allen, Lothar Brune.
Jory's gonna die.
He is like a Littlefinger crony. He does a lot of stuff for Littlefinger, a lot of work for Littlefinger.
Jory's gonna die.
Jory's gonna die soon. Marin Trant. Glow?
Marin Trant, Kingsguard. I forget what he does to piss off Tyrion, but Tyrion sends him up north to the wall for some reason. I forget what.
It's Jaina Slint.
Arya's gonna kill him.
Who kills him?
He's on Arya's list, and Arya kills him in the show. In Bravos. Because he kills...
yeah, that's right.
He's the one who ends up fighting Syrio Forel. We don't know if he dies, because Arya leaves. But yeah, he's the one who fights Syrio.
Does she stab him in the eyes?
In the show.
Not in the book?
In the books, the next Winds of Winter, like the first Winds of Winter chapter are the play scene. But I don't even know if he's the one accompanying him. We know Harry Swift, who's the master of coin at the time, goes to Bravos. But he's not on Arya's list. I don't know if they send a Kingsguard to... I think they do, because I think Harry Swift gets all geeked up. They're like, oh, you're sending somebody with me. But maybe that's in the show, too. I'm getting it confused. We'll see when we get there. Marin Trant's on our list, though, for sure. Then we get Barristan. And then Kyle did not... So Jeff was wondering if Kyle was going to get this. The knight who dies from the Veil.
I mean, I'm not surprised he didn't, because I definitely didn't get it the first
small.
time I read.
I mean, that would be tough to get.
Obviously, they don't mention his name at all.
But they say everyone from the Veil left.
John Squire?
Yeah, but they say everyone from the Veil left.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one to pick up.
They will call it out in like the next episode, in the next chapter or two. Littlefinger says something to Ned like, it's weird how Jon Arryn Squire was able to get such fancy armor. And he's like, it's weird how he got matched against Sir Gregor for somebody who's only ever jousted twice in his life.
And it's weird that Sir Gregor saw the chink in his armor and killed him.
Yep. Loras Tyrell, more him.
Fuck him.
Littlefinger Cat, Joff. Moonboy. Why is Moonboy important, Chloe?
Because all fucking jousters are stupid. I have no idea why.
Moonboy. Moonboy, the simple fool.
Moonboy ends up going with
It's not Patchface.
Yeah, I don't know who this Moonboy is.
He gets mentioned like a million times in book 4 and 5. Jaime thinks about him all the time.
He fucks Cersei.
Yeah, Tyrion tells Jaime that Cersei fucked him. So he's been fucking the Kettle Blacks and Lancel and Moonboy for all I know. Jaime thinks that to himself like 500 times in book 4. I think that's really the only reason Moon Boy's important. All right, Jeff, we're into the big spoiler part.
Big spoiler.
Not really a spoiler. This is more of a theory than a straight up spoiler because
Peter Baelish set this all up.
No.
Cersei wants to kill Robert Baratheon.
So that is big. That is, I think,
huge.
We missed that, but I think that is definitely happening here. This is Cersei's first attempt to kill Robert. Right?
Wait, first attempt?
Someone who is super stubborn, right? If you're Cersei and what do you think she thinks is going to happen when she tells Robert, "Oh, you can't fight in a melee"? Does she think do you think there's half a chance she thinks that he'll be like, "Oh, okay, I'm not going to fight"? No, she knows he's going to throw a fit. She knows he's definitely the only thing that can make him want to fight more
is her
telling no.
That's a good point.
This is her first attempt to kill Robert, and Ned stops it in the next Ned chapter by saying, "You're not fucking fighting." He says that no one in the realm would dare touch you, but I bet you Cersei had somebody paid off that would have, you know what I mean?
Drew some blood.
Yeah, I mean, she gets Lancel to get him drunk, and he admits it later. I bet you Cersei had something planned here. The big spoiler here, it's not a spoiler, the big theory is there's a lot of parallels between this tourney and what we hear about the Harrenhal tourney with Lyanna. We have a Stark daughter getting crowned with a rose. In the Harrenhal tourney, she gets crowned a crown of blue roses. Here, Sansa gets crowned by Sir Loras with a red rose. So then Sansa gets kidnapped later on, just like Lyanna gets kidnapped. They both get kidnapped by so Rhaegar and Littlefinger kidnap Lyanna. Rhaegar kidnaps Lyanna. Littlefinger kidnaps Sansa. What is weird about kidnapping women? And what is Rhaegar's intention after kidnapping Lyanna? And what is Littlefinger's intention after kidnapping Sansa? Endgame. Glow.
For Rihanna. Rhaegar, he's trying to make the prince who was promised that would save the world from...
So he's trying to fulfill some prophecy. But what's the end game with Lyanna? Marry her, right?
Yeah.
So what about Littlefinger? Is Littlefinger trying to marry Sansa?
I would
probably
guess so, yeah.
What do we know about how do wildlings get married?
By stealing them.
Yeah, so Littlefinger and Rhaegar both perform wildling marriage customs to a Stark girl.
However,
go ahead.
Peter doesn't steal her himself. He steals her using somebody else. So technically, that guy stole her.
Hold on. So listen, there's a prophecy that Rhaegar is trying to fulfill at this tournament, right? That's why he gives Lyanna the crown of blue roses. She's the daughter of Stark. Ygritte tells Jon about the story Bael the Bard, where a wildling sneaks into a Stark girl's room. Baelish sneaks into a Stark girl's room and impregnates her, right? This is what Ygritte tells Jon. That's why wildling and Stark blood is mixed, because of Bael the Bard. This is a similar thing. Baelish trying to marry Sansa Stark. They're both using wildling customs to try and get with a woman of the first men, a Stark, right? I don't know. There's a lot of parallels. Also, Osha, when Osha first gets introduced, she talks about her family history through her mother's maternal line. She's like, my mother's mother was this, right? So it seems like first men are more matriarchal than patriarchal.
Yep.
Sansa's matriarchal line goes to Catelyn, goes to Lawston, goes to Went. Wentz are so Sansa's great grandmother is the Lady of Harrenhal. Littlefinger
becomes
what does he
Lord
want?
Of Harrenhal.
He wants Harrenhal. He gets pissed. So when Tyrion's doing that thing where he's like, "Hey, Varys and Maester Pycelle and Littlefinger," he tells them all something different. What he tells Littlefinger is, "Hey, you're gonna take Marcella. She's gonna marry Robin Arryn, and in return, you'll get Harrenhal." Littlefinger's genuinely pissed when this deal gets revoked. And later, when he gets to choose his own reward, he chooses Harrenhal. The first tournament takes place at Harrenhal. Littlefinger kidnaps Lady Harrenhal and wants to endgame marry her at Harrenhal. People think there's something up with Harrenhal. Like, basically, Rhaegar was forcing a prophecy. Like, he was trying to force a prophecy. Littlefinger noticed a prophecy happening before his eyes. He notices Lady Stark getting gifted a red flower. The same thing that happened at the Harrenhal tourney. Rhaegar maybe forced it. Littlefinger sees this thing happening naturally, and he's like, holy shit, this is the prophecy. This is my chance. I'm going to kidnap this girl. This is the girl. Again, we don't know what the prophecy is.
I was about to say, what does the prophecy say something about a girl getting a rose at a fucking tourney? That doesn't make
We
any
know
sense.
a lot of stuff about Stark girls being
roses.
kidnapped. We know stuff about roses, different color roses, blue roses. Lyanna's favorite is blue roses. There's a lot of things that don't line up exactly, but there's a ton of similarities here. Lady Stark getting crowned Queen of Love and Beauty. We know Loras eventually wins the tournament. The Hound ends up winning, but it's because Loras gives it to him after he saves his life from Gregor. There's weird stuff going on. Littlefinger's up to something. After Loras beats Gregor gets pissed because Loras cheated. Oh, also, Loras cheats. He knows his mare's in heat to piss off Gregor's mare.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that Rhaegar cheated in the Harrenhal tournament because he wasn't that good of a knight. People say he wasn't a great jouster. People think he cheated to win the Harrenhal tournament.
I don't believe that.
Well, again, we'll talk about
He
some
was
of
a
this.
singer, not a fighter.
We'll talk about more of this when we get there. Oh, Bale the Bard, Rhaegar the
No.
Bard.
Rhaegar.
Yeah, he's kind of like a bard. Kidnaps a Stark. Bale the
No, but he's
Bard.
saying he's more of a
Baelish
singer
bard.
than a fighter. But either way, it's said that when he began
Wow, you're such a
learning how to
Rhaegar. You're
fight,
such pro Rhaegar. It's crazy.
So obviously, this is
I
not
am
concrete
pro
evidence.
Rhaegar.
This is not concrete evidence of anything.
R plus L. Well,
But you have to admit, kind of like we were asking Kyle, what's Littlefinger doing here? Like, he is not somebody who seems to get surprised by things or to be taken unawares by things. But here he goes up to Sansa, touches her, and then he's like, oh fuck, and he dips. Like, something clicked in his head when he met Sansa, and it has to do with her hair, I think. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but after I watched that video where this guy points out all the stuff, and I pointed out a lot of the major ones, but there's a ton I missed. It seems like it's something weird going on. It's a coincidence. It's too much. Again, like I said about the Ghost and Sam stuff, it becomes too much to be a coincidence, I think. I'm not sure. Also, it seems weird that Littlefinger seems oddly interested in the old gods. Where does he have Sansa meet Dantos?
in the
Godswood, in King's Landing. The Eyrie doesn't have a Godswood.
Yeah, they do.
No, Eyrie doesn't have a Godswood. It's too high up.
I thought they had something up there though.
they have
So-
the moon
The
door.
garden.
So, like you were saying, about the kidnapping, and there's also something about I don't remember exactly what it is, but there's something about the Hollard family. So Dantos Hollard. There's something about his family being in connection, being like an old, like a First Men, like really like a lot of First Men blood. I think. Littlefinger places Sansa and Hollard in the Godswood. Right, so say he believes in the old gods. He believes that
Well,
in the Godswood they know what's
isn't
going on.
Technically, old gods, is it? I thought the Godswood was just a place to pray.
The Godswoods are where the weirwood trees are.
Yeah, but there's no weirwoods.
There's
down
no
in
weirwood trees,
King's
but
Landing.
again, but people say that they can just see through trees. There's trees around. There's not a Godswood at all in the Eyrie, whether it's oak or weirwood or anything.
So he's trying to hide Sansa
So
from the old
he
gods.
I think he wants the old gods to think that somebody worthy is kidnapping her. Right? The Hollards are an old, have a lot of First Men blood. So he sets it up so that it looks like he's kidnapping her, but she ends up in Littlefinger's lap, and then Littlefinger takes her to somewhere with no Godswood, so the old gods don't know any better.
I mean, they stopped at a bunch of places along the way.
In the fingers, it's weird. Again, I don't remember all these theories off the top of my head. A lot of this stuff I've seen in passing, but some of it just sticks out as some weird stuff that's going on. Littlefinger is playing some games. Maybe it's that I could see being a coincidence. But again, there was so much weird stuff going on with Sansa. Why is Littlefinger interested in Sansa at all? It's not. He's too smart to just do all this for a crush
Yeah.
on an 11-year-old girl.
No,
Yeah.
he's got some motivation, but I think it's more political than it is prophecy. I don't think he knows anything about.
So
prophecy.
why is it when he sees her hair that he freaks out? Right? If it's political, it's the fact that she's the Hand's daughter. It's not the fact that she's fulfilling some prophecy. When he sees her hair, he's like, "Oh fuck, this is it." I don't know. I don't have an answer, and I don't think that Again, like I said, I don't think this proves anything. I think it's just weird how it lines up. Well, how he seems to be taken back. He seems to be caught off guard, and that's something we don't see Littlefinger like very often at all.
Does he like gasp and run away? Like I thought he just was like, all right, touch the hair and goes away.
Septim Ordain quickly took a hand. Sweet child, this is Lord Peter Baelish of the King's Small Council. Your mother was my Queen of Beauty once, the man said quietly. His breath smelled of mint. You have her hair. His fingers brushed against her cheek as he stroked one auburn lock. Quite abruptly, he turned and walked away. So he meets Sansa. I bet you he intended on meeting Sansa. He walks up and like touches her hair, and he is like gone.
How has he not met Sansa yet? She's been there for over a month. Been there for like 2 months.
Again, why would you go seek out an 11-year-old girl?
But in passing.
I don't know. I bet you she hasn't been going much,
he's a
right?
freak.
Going to places.
He just got a boner, so he had to go and freaking tuck it real quick.
Maybe, but I don't know. I think he realizes that, oh shit, this is matching some prophecy or something. Or maybe he thought Catelyn was going to fulfill this prophecy. He's like, you know what? Again, if he thinks like, oh, I can kidnap Lady Stark, blah, 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 blah. Maybe he thinks that Lady Stark is Catelyn. And then he's like, oh shit, it's not. It's a Lady Stark as in the daughter, just like the Bale the Bard story, just like the Hans tourney, or just like the tourney at Harrenhal. This Lady Stark also get crowned Queen of Love and Beauty with a rose. That tournament was at Harrenhal. This is basically Lady Harrenhal in the matrilineal line. A bunch of stuff like that. I don't know. Also, the Wents from Harrenhal, they're like the most famous house for having red hair. Lady Went had red hair, said she bathed in blood of like virgins or whatever. So the red hair might be him being like, oh fuck, this is the link to Harrenhal. The last thing was a Lady Stark at a Harrenhal tourney. This is Lady Stark, Lady of Harrenhal by the hair. You know what I mean?
And, I mean, she's really lineage to there.
Yeah, lineage there. And again, that's why. Maybe at first his whole interest in Cat is around her being Lady Harrenhal.
Right, I mean, you're probably too young.
And now he's like, well,
He's
this
way
is
too
Lady...
young at that point, so no.
And he's like, wow, this is Lady Harrenhal and Lady Stark. It fits both sides of it.
Two sides of the coin.
Rhaegar sets up that tournament. He is the one who calls that tournament together. Him and I think Oswell is one of the Kingsguard with Rhaegar, one of Rhaegar's best friends. He's at the Tower of Joy. Oswell went. Rhaegar and Oswell set up that tournament at Harrenhal. Invite Lady Stark.
For him to get Lyanna.
He's like you said, he's trying to fulfill a prophecy. Rhaegar's trying to force it. Littlefinger notices, hey, this is the fucking prophecy
So you
Rhaegar's
think
trying
he
to force.
actually didn't just love Lyanna just for her looks, or you think it was all prophecy politically based?
Potentially, yeah. We know he was obsessed with prophecy. The three-headed dragon. He thought about it since Summerhall.
Yeah, that's true.
When he was born. I don't know. Again, this isn't definite proof of anything. It's not even close to that. It's just weird. Something to definitely keep an eye on going forward. I think something will come of this by the end of the books.
Now that we all have our minds scrambled into eggs.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave in the comments if you want. If you want us to bring up anything that we missed in this episode, just let us know. But please like and subscribe. YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pornhub. Don't forget. And don't forget to tweet us. First person to tweet us, right? Gets $5
tweet
from
us.
At
Jeff.
Mthroners.
Every episode is going to switch. If you tweet after this episode, it's going to be Jeff. After next episode, it's going to be me. Then Nelson. It's going to switch each time.
But only the first come, first serve.
Yeah,
First
it's only
come,
the first
first
person.
We're not made of money
It's
over
Russian
here.
roulette for us.
You guys aren't making us any money. We're only going to give out $5 for the beginning.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.